Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick, with you here as always, and you might be wondering, Nick, did you forget to pay the electric this month? Got the candles out and it's a little bit dark in here. Nope, that's not the case. This week, we have the newest edition, started as a committee bottling for 2016 for Ardbeg, and usually they do an Ardbeg day, but this year we have an Ardbeg night to sort of celebrate the rugged and uncanny and sort of unsavory history that the folks back hundreds and hundreds of years ago would have done around the nice seas near Ardbeg distillery. And what we have here for you is the Ardbeg Dark Cove. Now, this is, like I said, it's the committee release, and I just got this a couple weeks ago from the Liquor Control Board here. They were able to obtain some, which was nice of them. So, got this for around 105 US dollars. So, if you're looking around there, they're probably going to be releasing this at a lower ABV within the near future. This one is bottled at 55% ABV, so a whopping 110 proof. And as some people may point out right away, there is no age statement on it. Yes, we know we can go back and forth on the whole age statement debate, but when it comes down to it, it's about what's in the whiskey. It's about what's in the bottle and whether it tastes good or doesn't taste good. So, as we're sort of sitting here by candlelight, more or less, let's pour a little bit, let it open up just a tad, because at 55% ABV, you can certainly expect there to be a little bit of a opening up period. Let it mix with the oxygen in there and get used to being out in the open. So, what makes this different than any other bottling of Ardbeg? Well, basically, the biggest sort of promotional thing, I guess, with the Ardbeg, and the thing that makes it different, but doesn't actually specify clearly how it's different, is that the heart of the whiskey that goes into this bottle, this special release, was matured in dark sherry casks. So, what does that mean? Well, nobody really knows. It could have been aged in some really dark Pedro Jimenez sherry cask, possibly. Could have been aged in sherry cask for a very long time. Could be aged in very old sherry cask. We're not really sure. But it's touted as, and this is the whole play with the Dark Cove, not only referring to night, but that is the darkest Ardbeg bottling ever. So, there you have that. It definitely is a whopping whiskey, and I'm going to drop a little bit of water in this start. Now, I know I usually taste it at sort of whatever strength is in the bottle first, even if it is sort of a higher ABV. But with this, when I first tasted it, there definitely is a strong punch of the alcohol bite in there. Could also be because in the past few weeks and days, sort of been busy, haven't been able to taste as many whiskeys as I would have liked. So, you gotta sort of build back up to that, and I don't want my, palate to be destroyed by, tasting something that's a really high ABV and then not being able to sort of accurately describe what I'm nosing, tasting about it. So, that's why we're adding a bit of water in there, just to tone it down a little bit. I've already tried this before without the water, so I feel like we're not losing that much in that sense. So going back to the age again, it's really hard to tell how old this is. And in terms of the color, because that's sort of the first thing we like to talk about, and I know it's hard to see with this light, but it's really not all that different from, say, the Ardbeg Ugadal or Corey Vrecken. Corey Vrecken is a little bit lighter in my opinion, but if this touts itself sort of as the darkest Ardbeg yet, it's maybe a shade or two, but it's probably mostly the marketing attached with it. And so you see this sort of just the bottle here, and you might be wondering if there's a box there is no box. My guess is that it's such a limited release that they didn't bother going through and, creating a box for just this one thing. Maybe the lower ABV version of the Dark Cove that will be released relatively soon, we think, might have a box attached with it, but I don't think so. You get a nice little card attached here. It tells you sort of about the history of Ardbeg, really, and goes into a little bit of the tasting notes. It's really a good read, and sort of plays into the lore and the love and the fanaticism, really, that goes along with Ardbeg. Now, normally, I'm not a huge fan of just sort of this impulse buy of things that are mostly important to big-time collectors and, fanatics and that sort of thing. But since I am such a big fan of Ardbeg, it only seemed fair. And it's the first committee release that I was able to obtain, so I figured I might as well since I could. So let's go in for the nose and see what we're working with. Right off the bat, you get this very heavy, sulfury, earthy, peated note, but it's not the traditional sort of peat that you'd expect from, say, the Ardbeg 10, but it's this really robust, earthy, feels like it's almost like you got a cup of coffee with a little bit too many coffee grounds in it, sort of like the tail end of the coffee pot at the diner. But also what you're getting is this nice sort of, it's like a mustiness to it that is really interesting. And also paired with these dark fruits, some really almost ripe berries in there. Just very old. Everything about this is just, it's very, this old sort of musty, damp feeling to it. Very earthy, like I said. Very meaty too, in a way, and I think it's one of the notes that it gives. I forget if it's in the taste or the nose or the finish or what have you, but very much like smoked ham. And that is very sort of prevalent in the nose of this. Now, often I don't really pay too much attention to the descriptors that are in here of what it's supposed to smell and taste like, because I feel like that's sort of misguiding people who may not be that experienced to just, pouring and, finding out what they smell and taste on their own, and are sort of, led in a certain direction and, made to believe that it smells like something that maybe they don't actually pick up, but are sort of, peer pressured into it. But in this case, I must say, the smoked ham is definitely on there in the nose. Just going for a taste. Adding a little drop of water tones it down a little bit, but by no means gets rid of any of sort of the punch that you get in here. First of what you're getting, I'm getting a heavy, peppery sense to it, and also this balance of this smoked ham note, but still staying true to sort of the Ardbeg, nice, earthy peatiness that's in there. A little bit of the malt, but I think that comes a little bit more through on the sort of mouthfeel of that. Definitely some heavy, rich cask influence, some vanillas that are definitely in there that are lovely. The coffee is a little bit more towards the coffee that I, love to, binge drink coffee, and not the sort of coffee at the end of the pot at the diner. So that's a good thing, especially in our flavor. But it's definitely got still staying true to that nose with this very musty, old, almost like furniture polish sort of note. And still keeping with these, I don't know, it's just amazing, really, because amongst all that sort of old mustiness that I talked about, you still have a lot of this nice floral fruitiness to it that it's almost like a zesty quality of really fresh fruit, whether it be just almost ripe to ripe fruit. It's definitely got this very fresh feeling to it. And so you've got that on one end, and sort of on the other of the earthiness to it, it's almost like they had pulled this, barrel out of, somebody's attic or something like that, and the whiskey had, aged just substantially well in it, along with however, long it had been sitting there. But it just feels like it's gotten so much of the region that Ardbeg is in, and so much of that history that is steeped in it, sort of, the illicit distillers and the smugglers and that sort of thing, of just being, caught in, I think they describe sort of the color of this as a copper still in moonlight, which is just a great descriptor of it, but sort of just, again, ties into that lore, which is, just makes it all the more fun, really. I don't feel it's, over the top, or false advertising, or over marketing. It's just fun. It's what Ardbeg does. I mean, for the most part, this, and I don't know if it says on here, if it's non-chill filtered. I don't see that on here, but normally with most of their whiskey, transparency is a big thing. The quality is always great. The color, you can tell that it's all natural color just by looking at it. Green bottle definitely ties into that. So, in my opinion, Ardbeg has sort of always been there at the forefront of transparency and quality, and that's really why I went out and got this. I know some people, the naysayers say, oh, it's just hype, trying to get people, to buy more and more and more, impulse buys, that sort of thing, this whole craze over it. And, some people get angry about it, like that they can't find this bottle anywhere. And so somebody, not me, and maybe if I were smarter and, had less sort of ethics about that sort of thing, would have grabbed a couple of these bottles and, stashed them away. And 10 years down the line, this thing will be marked up, 300% from what the retail was. We all sort of know what that market's like. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the finish, and then we'll get out of here. Definitely sort of that robust meatiness is coming through. Definitely the smoked ham. And I think it sticks through to the finish. You've got this very, meaty, rugged, very tactile texture and mouthfeel to it. And the finish is so long-lasting. I have a feeling I could, 2 hours from now, I'd still be sort of getting, remnants of this. And I'll probably have to hide this away and, forget where I put the key to it, lock it up, because this is something I could go back to again and again and again. Most other Ardbeg products that I have, and I finished sort of my Corey Grecken in the Ugadal, and, it was about time that I had another expression in the lineup. So, there you go with that. So, let's talk score. And this is going to be a hard one, because it's just so good, and you're trying to figure out where to go from there. So, for Straight Talk Whiskey, episode 57, I think, score, we will say a 95 out of 100, because I know a lot of people always say things tend to get scored, 90-ish, 89s, 92s get thrown around, 91, that sort of thing. You don't really get much higher than that unless it's just like absolutely out of this world and outrageously priced usually. And, I'm still yet to have a 100, though I feel like I'll try a few more expressions from this, from Ardbeg, and maybe we'll get up there. Not sure. But that's it for this episode. Sorry it took a little while to come back with this episode, but we'll get on track here soon enough and look for some more exciting things in the future. If you have any whiskey requests for me to review, just comment and I'll try to find it if I can. I've got a little bit of a list going. I've been trying to, pick up things when I can, but, we'll get there eventually in due time. So until then, have a great week. We'll see you next week, and while you're drinking this week, do so responsibly. See you next time.